Welcome to the Really Awesome Treasures eBay video. Today we're going to look at the Syntest frequency synthesizer, model number 20-160, and I take it back, it's model number SI-160, and it covers a frequency of 20 to 160 megahertz. This device is, I believe, from the 80s. I can't remember its date, but it's somewhere back there. And this device is functioning and works just fine. I went through and I cleaned the control. I cleaned the BNC connector, calibrated the device. The device has a reference box in the rear there that is a 1 megahertz box that goes out and feeds the rest of the machine. However, it does use a 10 megahertz frequency crystal. The crystal was off. I went ahead and replaced it with a brand new crystal, and that brought the frequency of the whole device in whole a lot closer. Now, it's not 100% spot on, but actually it really depends on where you are in the frequency spectrum. If I remember correctly, you're no more than about 10 hertz off, maybe 20 hertz tops. It's been a short while since I messed with this, probably 2 weeks ago, so I don't remember. A lot of equipment since that time. So today we're going to plug this in, turn it on, and we're going to look at it on a frequency counter, and we will look at it on an O-scope so you can see what kind of signal it produces. Now, this only produces a square wave signal, and it's only a dead carrier. There is no audio in the device at all. Now, if you're crafty and you know what you're doing, then by gum by golly, you could definitely add and inject your own audio into it as you need. Also, again, if you know what you're doing and you're crafty and all that good stuff, you can actually get lower frequencies out of this than what these thumb wheels will allow you to do, and what the box will allow. So it's definitely something doable. Now, here on the front we have our power on-off switch with a idiot indicator and a error light, which tells you if you're in or out of band of what this thing can cover. Now, this will go a little bit lower than the stated 20 megahertz. I think it goes down to about 17 and a half megahertz, somewhere in there. And that's just as is by default. That was nothing done by me. The potentiometer here is what controls the RF level. There's nothing inside the device on the board to tweak and peak to get you a little bit more juice. It's all done right there. The device is used, not abused. There are scuffs and scratches. Back here we have the label, and we have a little plug right here. This is, you can put a BNC in here if you want to do your own modification. It is dual power, 120, 220, and then we have a fuse, a hardwired cable. Cable's in pretty good condition. I don't see any nicks, scratches, or anything that would warrant the cable need to be replaced. Now, again, I have tested this device and I have used this device, and it works as it should. Depending on where you are in the spectrum will depend on how accurate you are on frequency. It will waver. Let's go ahead and get this set up for our test. Okay, I have adjusted my lights so we can see the O-scope a little bit better so it's not all washed out. Got the device plugged in via cable, and we're plugged into mains power. Let's go ahead and throw the switch. Let me adjust my scope. Now please keep in mind my scope is a 100 meg scope. And so what you're seeing here on my 100 meg scope is frequency at 150 megahertz. The scope, of course, is not showing Let me try my trigger. There we go. Alright, now we got the trigger adjusted. And even though I said it's a square wave, that definitely does look like a sine wave to me. And as you can see, the control does adjust with no issues. It's not high output, it's it's transistor powered output in millivolts. So that's 160. We change this last digit to .1. Oh, we'll reserve that for the frequency counter. Let's go ahead and drop this. That's 160, and as you see, it went off of the scope. You see it's all, there is a signal, it's all goofy, but definitely out of range. 170, 180, 190. And there you can see our square wave signal. Alright, I had to close my back window. So we can see the scope better. And as you see, it's saying 190. There's 100. And that's all zeros. And then let's take this up to, that's 10, 20 megahertz. And again, you can see the control works, and that's our square wave. It's 30 megahertz, 40 megahertz, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and then back over. All the thumb wheels work, function just fine, no problems, there's no bad spots. There's no issues turning them, no challenges. They turn like they should. All digits except for the very first one goes from 0 through 9. This first leading digit goes from 0 and 1. There is a locking mechanism in the control itself that turns that off. Now we're going to plug it into the frequency counter here. This frequency counter is not a high grade test grade frequency counter. However, I did calibrate it about 2 weeks ago when I worked on this, and it is fairly accurate. I compared against my good gear, my leader, and my Syncor frequency counters, and it's right there. So as you see here, we have the display rating 90 megahertz, and here we're at 89.991. Let's turn the resolution down just a little bit. And I notice cable's in the way. So as you can see, it's off a little bit, but not too bad. And if we turn the last digit here, we're at 1. It's 2, 3, 4. So at 90 megahertz, you're 4 hertz off. Here's at 0 megahertz, 10 megahertz, 20 megahertz, 30 megahertz, 40 megahertz, 50 megahertz, 60 megahertz, 70, 80, and 90. Back at 0, we'll flip this to 1. So now we're at 100 megahertz, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, and as you see, it goes into out of lock. So the way how you achieve 160 is you have to go to 159 and then .9 all the way across. And that gets you your 160 megahertz. Now earlier I was stating that this will by default go out of band just a little bit, and so let's go ahead and demonstrate that. Now it's not guaranteed, warranted, or anything like that. This is just how it is. So we're at 60, Okay, so we're at 10 megahertz, 11, 12, 13, and as you see it's trying to read it, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 megs. And then if you were to back that down to 17, 1710, 1720, 1730, 1740, 1750, and 1760. 1760 is where it's stable. And that's the signal output. As you see, the light's flashing because we're out of range. Signal looks like that, unterminated. Let's put a 75 ohm terminator on it. And that's what 75 ohm termination looks like. And if we put a 50 ohm terminator on it, okay, that will conclude the demonstration on this device. I do want to say that there is absolutely no cabling, BNC connectors, terminators, or any of this other equipment that you see on my workbench included in this auction. The only thing that's included in this auction is this device, the Synthest synthesizer only. That's it. So there's no warranties implied, no guarantees implied. This is a as-is auction. No buyer's remorse will be honored. As is, broken, etc., etc. You buy it, you own it. This device will be shipped out the cheapest way for me. It will include a signature required, and you'll get notification of which method it was shipped out on. If you have any questions or need any more information, by all means ask all your questions up front before auctions end, and I will try my best to answer all questions. Please keep in mind, I am not a professional electronics technician. I am just a hobbyist. So if your questions involve something really in-depth and meaty, I probably can't answer it, but I will do my best. Thank you very much and have a great day.